Hello and my sincerest bonjour to you and your group wherever you are. Get out. Happy the Vampire Lestat premiere week to all those who celebrate. The Vampire Lestat season 3 of Interview with the Vampire did come out on Sunday. I, for one, am thrilled. As somebody who has always known about Interview with a Vampire, like the OG, I live in South Louisiana. Very witchy people really heavily fuck with Anne Rice down here. So I always knew about her book. I always knew about the movie. I was like, oh, Tom Cruise is in it. Don't have a particular inclination to see that. And then I finished watching Heated Rivalry in January, and I was like, I could go for some more gay stuff. Interview with a Vampire on Netflix. Black lead. Bad as fuck. 2 leads. Bad as fuck. Okay? Bring up your best bitch and you're still not touching Louis de Pontelac. And that's that on Creole Men with Finger Waves and Brown Eyes. Anyways, so binge watched the season. Immediately needed that shit in my life. And was thrilled to find out that a 3rd season was soon to come. So, I, as a fan, would strongly advocate for you to watch season 1 and 2. I know you're liable to see spoilers about season 3, even though only the first episode has come out. So if you can, binge it. If you can't, do your best to stay off social media. Yeah, that's the best I got for you. So we start off season 3, spoilers, coming. So only if you watch the first episode or are familiar with the books, I guess, that I would recommend you to keep watching. But so we start off, we're at an auction house, and it appears to be China, and Lestat's masters are being auctioned off, and then subsequently, immediately after that, they are set on fire. You know, this is very Lestat coded. It's very like a joke to him, and it's so interesting to me that somebody who has been dead for so long is so in touch with their human side, because he is very petty. He very much loves attention. He wants to be adored. He wants to be loved. So he's very much in touch with his human side in that way, despite kind of his like indifference to human life. Okay, anyways, Louis there, missing a leg. Louis de Pontelac, okay. And Armand's there, and he's missing an eye, it appears. Something happened to his eye. And to be honest, whoever did that to his eye should have fucking plucked out the other one. I'm an Armand hater. Armand, apologies. This is not a safe space for you. He had 500 years to seek therapy, and he decided to do none of that. He decided to be a fucking freak and a weirdo and a terrible person anyway. So that's where he stands on that. And then secondly, being auctioned off is, it's like a music box curated by Lestat. It has some stuff in it. It has like some wine. It has a vial of his own blood. And it has a recording in it. So that's kind of how the narration starts. It is a recording that Lestat has recorded that goes to whoever spent this exorbitant amount of money on this music box. And Louis is bidding on it, and Armand is also bidding on it. And then some other guy that they said is like Raglan, whoever. Again, I didn't read the books. I don't know this man. And then there's also some talk about the tale of the body thief as well. Which, again, I didn't read the book, so I'm not super familiar, but we'll see as the season progresses. Anne Rice's freakish little world has a lot going on. More than just vampires, I would say. So, probably buckle up for that. So, we start. It's my 3:30 p.m. coffee. And it is Lestat. And his narration is much less refined and eloquent than Louis is. Louis um, is very poetic in the way that he talks about things, which is fine. Lestat is very blunt and raw and to the point, and he has always, to me at least, through Louis' version of him, obviously Louis has like this idealized version of Lestat, and we get that because, you know, he doesn't see the scars that Lestat has. He doesn't talk about the scars or anything, and he talks about his hair being a different way, and he talks about this, he talks about that, and it's just a more refined crash out, because at the end of the day Lestat is still very much a crash out. He's just a little less like buttoned up than Louis kind of portrays him. And as somebody who is also a hot mess, I appreciate a character like that. It doesn't bother me that his narration jumps back and forth and that he's getting ahead of himself, because that's something that I very much do within my own life. So I'm not mad at him. He actually, the way that I'm seeing Lestat narrate and how he is exactly how I envisioned him as Louis was describing him. Like, even though Louis has this more like perfected version, this more polished version of Lestat, I kind of like saw the messiness underneath and the like realness underneath. He is very like traumatized, and he is very soft to a certain extent with certain people, one of those people being Louis. My parcel was delivered. Okay. Perfect. Get away from that window. So, we start and it's Lestat is playing some music for Louis, and Louis like, oh, it's nice, whatever. And Lestat's like, oh, why don't you come visit me? Louis is like an art dealer now. I guess his like photography stuff never worked out for him. He was never able to capture the human spirit in the way that he wanted to capture it. So he has turned to a life of art dealing. And Lestat's like, oh, I need a painting in my house over my guest bed. You need to come visit. And there's a painting in there. It's called The Lovers, and it's basically two people with like bags over their head kissing. Symbolism. Back to the second season, wherever Lestat wrote that letter to Louis, and he's like, oh, I'm no longer here. You know, there's a veil between us now that separates us, but I'm always on the other side of it, pressed up against your longing. Wow. Wow. Like, he's down bad as fuck. I know he's in that mediation room hooting and fucking hollering as he does best in the previews towards Louis, but that's still your man at the end of the day. Anyways, he's playing a song for Louis. Louis blows it off. He's like, it's nice. Lestat's telling him how nice Montreal is. Whenever, and he also mentions a garage band, and this is important. But he gets a notification, he's reading, he's like, Louis, do you know someone called Daniel Malloy? And this is kind of how he gets the introduction that Interview with a Vampire is out. Louis has talked to a mortal about Lestat. He's talked to a mortal about Lestat, and, you know, basically a book has been written on it. He has like a biography out. Lestat gets it, he's going through it, he's pissed, he's scribbling in the margins, he's correcting all the things. Basically, he basically says that, you know, whatever Louis is talking about are the ramblings of a crazy person. And then he's like, oh, edit that out later. Like, he doesn't want to hurt Louis' feelings. Whatever. Louis do be on some bullshit. He talks about how his hair is shorter, how he doesn't have scars, how, there was something else that he said. But basically, this whole situation is a reaction towards Louis' version of Lestat. He literally says he paints me as some mayonnaise villain or whatever. When honestly, I think Louis was still a little salty and bitter in some of the stuff that he mentioned or he talked about Lestat in. But I think he always managed to get him across as a character that was complex and not just surface level. Um, so then Lestat has a crash out. Basically, he's been here in the garage band, and this guy is like hitting this note that he really, really hates. He goes, he breaks into their apartment, he breaks their guitar, he's like playing the right note for him. He's like, you need to chill the fuck out. And then that's basically how he gets him invited into the band, which goes from being called Satan's Night Out to the Vampire Lestat. He named it after himself, obviously. And he talks about how the whole thing is basically a charade. Everything that he does is a performance of like, is he a vampire? Isn't he a vampire? This is post interview with the vampire. He's like, oh, basically like, so people think this is part of Daniel's whatever. Like, he's a character made up by Daniel Malloy at the end of a truly vampire trend. Who is teaching him these words? I'm stressed. He's hilarious. But I did forget to mention that he interacts with trick-or-treaters, and the trick-or-treaters are dressed up as like Louis and Claudia, and he's like, what the fuck? He's like snarky to them about it. He's like, oh, your camera isn't period correct, blah blah blah. And then one kid mentions like, oh, I have a nut allergy, and he's like, oh, well, nut allergies are delusional. And then he proceeds to do the entire like breaking into the apartment thing. So then he mentions that he basically locks himself in the band in the attic for like a year to perfect the sound. Now, mind you, the songs are not great. He does still have fans or whatever. He does intimate venues. Even Daniel Malloy even brings this up. He's like, oh, you're doing like 800-seat arenas. Meanwhile, we have Jelly Roll and Post Malone in here doing 80,000 seats. So like, what's all this about? You're wearing these pants, you're writing these songs, you're doing all this stuff. What's going on? And he's like, basically, we're just doing a rewrite. Like, this is my side of the story. I don't like how Louis portrayed me, blah blah blah. So it's my turn now. And Daniel's basically saying like, oh, so everything you're doing is some reaction to, you know, the book of Louis and I. Which, to be honest, to be fair, I mean, don't you kind of think it's a valid reaction if somebody kind of portrayed you as like this awful person, that you would come and be like, oh, actually, let me set the record straight on my own terms. I don't know, maybe not. So Lestat and Louis, I guess, are still kind of on talking terms, but like not quite. He's texting somebody the entire time Daniel's talking to him. Throughout the entirety of the show, he's texting somebody, and the tone seems like Louis, like they're not impressed with his music, as Louis kind of like hinted at earlier in the show whenever they were on FaceTime. He kind of hinted at that, and they say something like, oh yeah, I saw your video of you and whatever, it helped me sleep, blah blah blah, like something Louis would say. They're consistently rage baiting Lestat. So you're like, oh, it's Louis. And he also makes the comment, Rome, Wisconsin, which is something that he and Louis kind of like spoke about in season 1. He's like, oh, we should go on a vacation to Rome. Louis like, Rome, Italy? Lestat's like, no, Rome, Wisconsin. Because Louis is still in the slump because Claudia has left. Oh yeah, if you didn't watch the first season, well. So it's kind of giving like, oh, Louis gonna show up. Okay, so he's continually texting this person. He's playing music. He's really just like alluding to the fact of his loneliness. He is not sleeping. His girlfriend is asleep on the floor. He's playing guitar, and he telepathically hears all these vampires talking about him. If he comes to your city, kill him. Some people are like, actually, I like his music. I feel seen. I feel heard. I think you should leave him alone. So there's this big back and forth. And I know that in the books, it is supposed to be a thing that if Lestat comes to your city, you're supposed to kill him. Okay? So, that's just something to be aware of. He's playing one night. He's performing. He listens to the audience. He sees like this group of vampires, and they're going back and forth telepathically. He's like, welcome to Detroit, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Okay, it's just to let you kind of know that they're there. So then the next night he's performing, or no, the next night he's doing he and his band show up to lend their celebrity to the grand opening of this boutique hotel. And Lestat's there in his cunty little corset with his slutty little waist. He's giving it to. He says, "I'm giving the pass my pussycat." He's so fucking funny. Cause where'd you learn to say that? He goes, he's partying. He has previously drunken from, I actually think it's the same night. I'm sorry. He has previously drunken from this girl, Baby Jinx, or whatever. It might be 2 different nights, to be honest. He drank from this girl. He got very, very high because she had a lot of drugs in her system, and he almost killed her. Okay, so he's basically tripping after like having drank this girl, and he sees her soul in the ceiling, and he's having a conversation with her, and she's like, you know, isn't it enough that thousands of people love you? And to me, this is like more, kind of more in touch with his human side. She's like, isn't it enough that, you know, all these people love you? And he's like, no, like, I need more. I need millions and billions of people. And she's like, well, why do you make it so hard for them to give it to you? Why do you make yourself so hard to love? And he says, she says something, and he's like, who told you that? Because no, literally, how do you know that? But anyway, they're able to save her. But before she comes to again, she says, they're coming. And he's like, who? Who's coming? Who is they? Okay, we're soon to find out. So he's on the bus, he's, you know, whatever. He's high, he is drinking champagne, he is, you know, filming his documentary or whatever, and he goes to the bathroom where he, like, basically tells us that vampires could pee. Okay, whatever. He goes to the bathroom, and the other 2 vampires from the Fang gang, one is a black guy, one is a white, they, them. And Lestat is very respectful of the pronouns. He's like, pronouns should be respected, just like silence at a urinal, because they're talking to him the entire time. And he's not trying to fuck with that. Like, Lestat really doesn't have a lot of interest in that many other vampires, aside from, like, you know, a handful. He don't want to fuck with Armand. He don't want to fuck with a coven. I mean, he fucks with Daniel, but I think he would fuck with Daniel either way. And he fucked with, like, Louis. He doesn't want to say he hates humans so much. He really does fucking like being around them. Because you always trying to get some human interaction, okay? So whatever. And he basically, they invite him to do whatever. Come meet our coven. We have a whole underground farm or whatever, is what the they them says. And he's like, oh yeah, tomorrow night. And they're like, oh well, you're gonna be on the road tomorrow night. He's like, yeah, I was just trying to, you know, be nice, let you down easy, but my sincerest bonjour to your little group of people. And he goes by his day. He goes by his day. So he's looking for the band later downstairs, and Daniel's like, oh, they went to the top floor. Lestat gets on an elevator. He fucks Baby Jinx. He fucks Dee, who is his black girlfriend. He fucks the bellhop because they press the buttons. They're stopping on every single floor. They get to the top floor. The Fang gang is waiting for them, and Lestat is an ancient vampire. He comes from a very powerful bloodline. He comes from Magnus. He has the blood of Akasha, who is like the first vampire, the vampire queen of the damned. He has the blood of Akasha, so he's very difficult to kill, and he's very powerful, and he has, you know, a lot of tricks, as Louis called them. So it's like 20 regional vamps, as he calls them, and he's mocking them, obviously. He probably knows they're called the Fang Gang, but he's like, oh, it's the Tooth Team, and proceeds to get in the fight, and he literally almost gets killed. And they call themselves, like, whatever Armand's little cult was, Reborn. And again, he's literally about to be garroted. And he's laughing. He's making fun of them. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ. The black guy has a tattoo that says Armand told the truth, and Lestat's like, Armand tell the truth? Have you met him? Like, what does that even mean? And then, you know, Daniel and I can't remember his name for season 2 comes to the rescue, and then he is outed as actually being a vampire because, you know, he drains one of the other vamps and flies off into the night, where eventually somebody who a lot of people might be expecting is going to be Louis walks in when he says my share, the feminine of my love. It is his mother, the vampire Gabrielle. So I think it's camp as fuck, honestly, that Lestat's making music, and he knows, like, looking back on it, the music's not that good. I think it's camp that he's a vampire cosplaying as a human, cosplaying as a vampire, and the band's cosplaying as vampires. This season, I definitely think is going to be a lot more funny, but I think it's going to be, well, I don't want to say darker, because season 2 is very dark to me, both like visually very dark and literally very dark. Like the content is dark. Louis is seen hallucinating Lestat. Claudia is literally lynched. The whole Claudia Louis on trial scene feels so racially motivated. It made me very uncomfortable to watch. And it also felt very homophobic, very anti-gay, anti-black sentiments. Like, it was just very uncomfortable. So I don't think it'll be as dark in that sense. We do get to get into like Lestat's backstory, and I'm very interested to hear that. I know some stuff from the book and just from reading like some you know, fan threads and stuff like that. I'm curious to see how they will approach the relationship with his mother, because some people are like, oh, the book seems to be clear on the fact that she did not groom him, but that she was like created this like, kind of like emotional codependency between herself and Lestat, and that she liked him. She just resented motherhood, is what it seems like from my readings, from what I've seen. I don't know how incestuous they're going to get with Lestat and his mom in the book. Like, obviously they kissed at the end of the season, and Louis is like, oh, you're in the same vagina you spent the first 9 months of your mortal life in. And I understand how it's supposed to look. Like, you know, you're a vampire, you turn into a vampire, you're transformed, you're dead, you're not a person anymore. So that erases the familial dynamic that they would have had going on, because that's her maker. So now it's almost like he has a paternal dynamic with his mother. Like, it's kind of weird and it's kind of confusing, and I hope too many people aren't like too icked out or turned off by that. It's coming out wrong. You should be icked out by incest, but I'm not sure how they're gonna approach it, is what I'm saying, basically. And that it's different in the books than what it seems like it might be. Allegedly. So I'm interested to see how that is going to go. And I'm interested to see how deep Lestat and Louis are going to go this season, because I want my dads to make up. And it seems like they were made up to an extent at the end of season 2 when Louis goes to New Orleans and he basically finds out that Lestat is the one who saved his life on the night of the trial. So I know Lestat is, now he's the one mad because of the book situation or whatever. So I'm not really sure how this is going to go, but I definitely think it's going to be campier and more fun. And I love that Lestat is a hot-ass meth. It has been foreshadowed that Daniel's actually going to kick the bucket, which is unfortunate, because he probably would have lived longer if he had, just stayed a human and dealt with his Parkinson's or whatever. I like Daniel. I fucks with Daniel. He's very smart. And that brings me to my next point, or my next topic, which is Armand, who again I hate. Armand haters, this is not, I mean, Armand haters, this is a safe space for you. Somebody was talking about Armand and how his autonomy, or is that the word she used? His autonomy, his independence or whatever was taken from him so young that he feels like he doesn't have autonomy in certain situations. So he basically orchestrates this elaborate plan to get himself out of something that he doesn't want to be in anymore instead of just leaving. He got Lestat to come in there and disband his little cult that he didn't want to be in anymore instead of just leaving. He got the Coven, the Atelier de Vampire, to kind of do a coup d'etat on him because he didn't feel like leaving. He had Daniel come in, knowing Daniel is a award-winning journalist. I know Louis a little dense and you mess with his memory and stuff, or he has hazy memory, what the fuck ever. Louis is not a reliable narrator in any sense of the word. He knew there was a likelihood that Daniel would figure it out, because instead of just leaving, Louis and Armand obviously aren't comfortable. They're making comparisons. Oh, that's 40 something more years than Lestat. Instead of just leaving. So he got Daniel to come in and do all this. You're half a millennia old. Let's get it. Is that right? The millennia is 1,000 years? Or 100 years? You're half a millennia old. Yeah, I think I'm right. I think I'm right. You need to go do something. I don't know what he needs to go do, but Willis Stott says, be all the things you are, but be it on the other side of the moon or kill yourself. Cause I don't want nothing to do with you. He don't want nothing to do with you. Louis still smiling in your face because he been a fucking bird. They've been calling him Louis de Pont de Flock. Okay? Cause birds of a fucking feather flock together densely. Louis is General Big Bird, but to be honest, I'd probably be birding out behind Lestat too, cause he be birding out behind Louis. So I mean, he really does love Louis. He's just so, I don't know, betrayed, traumatized. I feel like that's overused, that he doesn't know how to show it. I know a lot of people are excited to see Daniel and Armand's relationship, but to be honest, I could go without it. Armand, you bitch. You turned me into a vampire and then you left me by my fucking self in Dubai to figure it out. You doe-eyed fucker. So, yeah. I'm excited. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it thus far. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I watched it. I fucking bought AMC Plus. Damn you, AMC. I bought AMC Plus to watch it Sunday, and then I rewatched it again yesterday. And I feel alive. Like, fuck. I have something to live for again. I'm so excited for this season. It's only 7 episodes, which is a fucking crying shame. I feel like there's so much that needs to be addressed. But they've done so well the first 2 seasons of addressing a lot in a little amount of time. So I'm excited. Brawlin Jones, by God, please hit me up for the next season. I want to be in it. I've taken acting classes. I ain't too proud to beg. So yeah, if you're watching, let me know what you're excited for. I'm so excited. Unless you're excited for Armand, then I don't want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.